All right, my name is Jake Geiger. I'm the studio art director at Skydance Interactive.
So Jake, we spoke to you a few years ago of this new Walking Dead game, and we finally get to play it today. So talk about Saints and Sinners.
Saints and Sinners is it's basically it's a new chapter in The Walking Dead right now. We worked really closely with Skybound, who with Kirkman and Skybound, who basically they do all of the Walking Dead comics and everything. So this is the next chapter kind of in that world, and so we wanted to use, as we told you before, we're using New Orleans as a setting, and it's a setting that is really rich for this kind of storytelling, and it's a setting that players haven't seen in the Walking Dead universe yet, and so we wanted to really have this really exciting area to explore that players just haven't interacted with yet.
So you guys added, talk about the world we're exploring here. It's a hub-based world with lots of different locations.
Yeah, you're going to see, because New Orleans has a lot of interesting areas, you're going to have a section that's going to be a hub that is kind of your home base. And then from there, there's all these different areas that you're going to be able to explore, like Garden District and other sections around New Orleans that kind of branch out from that. And everything's all interconnected, so.
And you also have like crafting in the game and like formulas. Like it's like a full like open world RPG experience just about.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, we really wanted to have a lot of VR games now. They seem more experiences than full games, and we really wanted to have a really full-bodied game that had crafting, it had faction systems, it has all the stuff that players come to expect in AAA console games. We wanted to try and have that in VR.
So one of the coolest things about your game is the combat. You guys take a very unique approach to combat. Of course, you have like, aim, shoot and stuff like that, but you have this whole physics funhouse of grabbing zombies, stabbing zombies. If you don't swing hard enough, it doesn't go through the skull. This is like, it's all really intense stuff.
Yeah, we have spent a lot of time really kind of getting the physics and interactions with how the player is going to interact with the world, how they're going to interact with walkers, weapons, everything, and making sure that all feels right. And one of the things that our designers worked really hard on was this system that they're calling visual haptics, and that's where basically if every object, because it's physics-based, it all has weight. And so in the world, if you grab a heavy object, you're going to see a little bit of a ghost hand come off of it. And when you're in VR, it really sells the weight of it. And since it's hard to kind of, everything, can start to feel a little bit floaty, it really helps your mind connect with that and feel the weight of everything. And everything, all the weapons start to react the way that a player would intuitively kind of grab them and react with them. So an axe, if you're not using it two-handed, it's going to be a lot harder to wield if you're just swinging it around one-handed. So
another thing, a cool thing about your game is you guys have verticality. You can climb on any dumpster or car, as well as certain house elements like I guess what are they called, drain pipes, and ledges and bookshelves, which is amazing.
Yeah, that was something we wanted to make sure that when you're exploring these areas, that not only it's not just kind of a 2D plane. We wanted to have a lot of verticality. There are some places you can crawl under houses, is how you might get in, is going underneath, crawling through little crawl spaces, accessing areas that you can't get to other ways by climbing up. You may be able to crawl under walls. You may be escaping a walker herd and have to hop over dumpsters or cars to try and elude them. But we wanted to really have the environment feel interactable and have it really feel like how a player would logically, like, I'm going to climb up on this car to get rid of all these walkers. And, in that situation, you might be stuck. You might get up there and be surrounded by walkers, and then you have to figure out where you're going to go from there.
And that's very Walking Dead or just zombie apocalypse in general. You can put yourself in a very bad situation where you can just be, oh, well, now what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things, too. We wanted to make sure that you players had to plan. And it's easy to get yourself in sticky situations if you didn't plan. The walkers all react to noise. So if you're too loud, they may all come your way. Or you can use that noise to your advantage. Throw a little bomb or something to distract them. And they will all go over there while you make it into another area. So, and same with humans, too.
Yeah, there are human enemies in the game as well. It's not just zombies.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things with The Walking Dead as a franchise is that the walkers are just there. They're kind of a force of nature. And the real danger in the world is other humans. And those are the real threats when you walk into situations. Walkers are there and they exist and they're a threat, but the people out there is what you really need to worry about.
So post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypses always have fun weapons. As an artist, what were some of the fun things you got to do to create these like zany weapons? You know, like baseball bat with nails, a saw blade on a handle, that kind of stuff.
I mean, that was one of those things that when we had those prompts, we were trying to think of weapons that you would find out in an apocalypse, but things that people may have kind of jerry-rigged together to make a weapon that works better. So we basically gave a prompt to the artists like, hey, these are the kind of things we need. We need these classes of weapons, but let's come up with some really fun looks for them to make them feel like they have been kind of strapped together with multiple pieces. And we do have different kind of classes of them. So there's some of the first knives in the game are not as kind of big and burly as some of the later ones that you find that are kind of the ones that are all strapped together and everything that are a little bit more crazy.
And each weapon has a durability that wears down for each time you use it, hit a zombie, kill a zombie, or attack a human, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The weapons earlier on in the game are going to have a much lower durability, so you're going to have to be much more strategic about how you use them, because if you just go on a killing spree, that knife that you have or that gun that you have, it may break and then you're out of luck. But later on, you'll be able to find recipes so that you can collect crafting material and start to craft better weapons that have higher durability, that's going to last you longer, they're going to have different stats that'll make it better for you.
You guys almost have kind of like it's almost like a dungeon crawling type of game, because you go out and do some stuff in the world, and then you come back to your base and you craft, you build, you heal, you sleep, and then you select a mission and go back out again. It's very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to us wanting to make not just an experience, but a full-fledged game that had all that stuff and all the stuff that players come to expect out of a big game.
Because we're also one of the few games that has a screwdriver as a weapon, because I found out I picked one.
Oh, yeah. There's a screwdriver as a weapon. There's also, I can't remember if you picked it up, there's a spoon. You can use that as a weapon.
The one thing that can't kill anybody?
I mean, you have to really put some effort into it, but yeah.
That's brilliant design to me, because you're walking around and like if you lose all your weapons and you get knocked down by a zombie or a running, you can pick these items up along the road, and spoon's a spoon if you need something, right?
Exactly. And one of the things I can't remember if you had done it, but there was around the world you're going to see just different debris and things, and you might find a bottle. You can break a bottle on a wall, use that to stab a walker in the head. So it's kind of, we wanted to make it feel like even if you got to the point, because inevitably you will, where oh crap, I'm out of weapons, you can improvise stuff and grab things in the world that you might be able to use as a weapon.
Now, the post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse is very like dreary and wrecked. There's a lot of wreckage around, a lot of dull colors. Mm-hmm. As an artist, what are some of the challenges to indicate to the player that there's a weapon here, or you can climb that kind of stuff?
I mean, that's a challenge in any kind of gameplay. And so that was like, with the climbing, you want to really create a language for the player where the top of things are worn, so they know that, okay, maybe a lot of people have gone here and done this, so you have that indication that, oh, I can climb up on this thing. But not everything is going to have that. We do that in a lot of places where we want it to be very player path driven, so that people will be going that direction a lot. But things like the cars, the dumpsters, some of those don't have it, because we want it to be a little bit more the player to discover they can do those things, because intuitively you would think you can, so we want you to be able to do that.
So you guys have a faction system similar to Fallout. Is that going to determine the story and how it pans out? Is there eventual ending to the game?
Yeah, it definitely there is an ending to this chapter of the game, and depending on how you play and interact with people, it affects the outcome of that ending. So depending on your faction alignments, certain people may help you, certain people may not. Some people may attack you on sight, some people may help you out. But you're going to discover that as you go through, and depending on the outcome of all of those missions, that's going to kind of determine how that end plays out.
So you guys play it obviously a lot in the office.
Yes.
Do most of the people go like the good guy route, or they play the whole like Negan route?
There's definitely a mix. You get the people who kind of go in and run and gun and just see how long they can try and survive. And then you also get the people who go in and are very methodical and are trying to stealth around and try to help out as many people as you can. But you get in these sticky situations where you have to make tough calls, and there's no way to please everyone. And so you're going to run into situations where you might have to make a call you don't want to be able to get out alive.
Your character designs are very reminiscent of the comic book. Where did you draw inspiration for the walkers as well as the human enemies in the game and characters?
I mean, that was really, because we were working so closely with Skybound, we wanted to have something that was a little more reminiscent of that kind of artwork. And so we wanted to have a style that we could see. There's a lot of games out there, and we wanted to have a style where our screenshots, you could look at them and we could say, that's our game. And not have it where it gets mixed in and lost in the crowd. We wanted to have an art style that was something that people could look at and recognize. It was familiar to people of the franchise, but something that was exciting. And the team got really excited once we kind of latched onto that art style. It was something that we could really use that art style to push a little more out of VR than you usually would be able to. So because things are a little more stylized, a little more painterly, we can kind of cram in a little bit more. So that was definitely a conscious decision.
So when does the game come out, and what platforms are you aiming for at launch?
It's going to be out early 2020, and the platforms are to be announced right now.
So you can for sure Oculus, right?
I could say that. That's a safe bet, and the rest are to be announced.
Okay. So right now PSVR, HTC, and Oculus Quest TWD.
Yes.